You may have seen devastating images of the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, seizing Al Fasher in Sudan. There were mass killings of civilians and reports of about 500 people being killed at a maternity hospital. The blood saturated the ground so severely that you could even see it from space. But let's back up, and I'll explain how we got here and how we can end this war. After decades of authoritarian rule in Sudan, mass protests broke out and a new transitional government was put in place in 2019. Then, the country's national army, the Sudanese Armed Forces, or SAF, and the paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, staged a coup and stopped that transition to a civilian government. In April 2023, the RSF and the SAF turned on each other and started fighting each other for ruling power. Since then, the war has become the largest humanitarian and internal displacement crisis in the world. Over 14 million people have fled their homes into either other parts of the country or neighboring countries like Egypt, Chad, and South Sudan. Food, medicine, water, fuel, all are in critically short supply. More than 25 million people need humanitarian assistance. In Western Sudan, particularly the Darfur region, the RSF has taken over cities like Al Fasher after eruptions of violence and reports of mass killings and targeted ethnic violence. Earlier this year, former Secretary of State Antony Blinken determined that the RSF committed genocide in Sudan. This is after, in 2023, the State Department finding that the RSF has committed crimes against humanity and ethnic cleansing, and both the RSF and the SAF have committed war crimes. This crisis is dire, which is why the United States and the entire world need to act. There are a lot of outside countries that are funding both the RSF and the SAF, but the UAE is the primary funder of the RSF and their genocide. There have been consistent, credible reports that the UAE is funding and arming the RSF with shipments as often as a few times a week. Without the UAE's assistance, this war wouldn't be as deadly as it is, and it wouldn't lasted as long as it has. We need to do everything we can to end the UAE's involvement in this war. The United States has significant leverage with the UAE because we are their biggest weapons supplier. That's why I introduced the Stand Up for Sudan Act with Senator Chris Van Hollen. Our bill would prohibit U.S. arms sales to the UAE until they stop providing material support to the RSF. The United States has the leverage to end the war in Sudan, and we need to use it now to save lives.